Melinda was talking about the soul and the spirit, and I want to talk to you about the body. And I'm super passionate about this. I really love science. I really love learning about how our body works. I love the supernatural and all of that, but I also love to just know, okay, this is how God designed my body, and this is how it works. And I believe that it points back to him, because it wasn't a man, it wasn't a man that created our body to work this way. It was God who created us to work this way. So I want to talk to you a lot about our mental health, and I want to talk about our brain and how we do what Melinda was telling us to do, how we stop these thoughts from going on and taking over our lives and affecting us. And so I would like to focus a lot on depression, on anxiety, on loneliness. And I want to give some statistics to you real quick that are a little alarming about suicide. And we're just going to jump right in. It's the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. 10th. This is people choosing to take their own life. 10th leading cause. Oklahoma ranks 8 in the nation. 8. Our suicide rate is higher than California's. That's a big deal. 45,979 people committed suicide in 2020. 45,979. That was in 2020. They don't have the statistics out yet for 2021. So that was like when the pandemic started. From the ages of 10 to 34 in Oklahoma, from 10 to 34, suicide is the second leading cause of death. 10 to 34. I'm 31, and I'm like, that's young. These are little people, some really young kids that are fighting this suicide. So I think it's time we get serious. I think it's time we get serious about our thoughts. It's time we get serious about depression, anxiety, what we're doing to ourselves, these toxic cycles that we're going through. I think it's time that we get serious about it, because these numbers, I guarantee you, they have gone up in 2021. But here's the thing, we don't just wake up and decide to commit suicide. We don't just wake up and say, okay, I was fine yesterday and I'm gonna take my life today. It's a whole process. It's a whole time. It takes time to get to this place. And so it starts with our thoughts now before you get to that place. It starts with our mental health. It starts with saying, I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm going to do the things that I need to do. I'm going to be proactive. And I just want to preface this with, if you are dealing with thoughts of suicide, reach out. You got to take care of that. It's not something to take lightly. If you know of somebody who has said, I'm dealing with these thoughts, get them help. This is not a thing to take lightly. This is not okay, well, I hope you feel better. Just remember, God is good. Okay, but we're going to get them help. And if you need professional help, you get professional help. You get what you need, because it is a dark, dark battle. And we're not going to mess around with it anymore, right? Yes. Okay. So most of the information I'm going to give you today comes from this lady. Her name is Dr. Caroline Leaf, and I'm sure there's some of you that have heard of her. She's incredible. She has been studying the brain for over 38 years. She's a Christian, so she applies the Word of God to all of her science, all of the things that she is saying. And she teaches you how to rewire your brain. She teaches you how to change these thoughts. And I want you to get this book, because this is not my information. I almost am like, is this even allowed that that I can come up here and share this information? Because it's not mine. And I'm not promoting like a book that I wrote, but I just believe in this so much. And I think this message needs to get out there. And so if you don't want to read, listen to her podcasts. She has a blog. She has so much information, and it could literally save your life. And so all of it is coming from here. And I'm telling you, she has seen patients that have Alzheimer's, dementia, any learning disability, ADHD, autism, depression, anxiety, all kinds of things. She has seen patients, and she's done these clinical trials, and she's practiced this technique that she's developed about rewiring your brain. And she has seen incredible results with things where doctors would say, this isn't going to happen. But the thing about the brain is that it's malleable. It can be rewired. You can actually change it. It's not permanent. These thoughts that you're thinking are not permanent. And so the way that you think, the way that you process things, you're actually wiring your brain that way, and it affects your entire body. It affects your health. It affects how you think, how you act. It affects every single aspect of your life. And God has created us to be strong and to thrive. He's not created us to just sit there and think, I'm stuck. Oh, why do these things keep happening to me? Why do I keep going through these cycles? He's created us to go after it, to decide, okay, I'm going to change this. I'm going to take these steps, and I'm going to do what I need to do to get this healing, to get what Melinda was saying, so that I'm not falling into these cycles of gossip, so I'm not falling into these cycles of just overwhelming and all of these things. We have to decide to go after that because we're strong. He's given us everything that we need to do this. So I'm going to tell you a little science stuff. Bear with me. I tried to break it down as much as I could, but again, I love it. I'm not a professional. I'm working on that, but I am not there yet. But I think it's good if we kind of understand what's going on. So it's a little bit of science, so bear with me. I know we're not in school, but your thoughts, you have to imagine your thoughts as a physical structure, as something that you can actually hold. They're not just in thin air. They're not just up here. They're actually something physical. They can scan your brain and actually see the protons and the neurons and everything coming together when you're thinking something. So that it's an actual physical thought. The way you react, if something happens to you and you react a certain way, all of these thoughts, all of these things are physical, and they're getting wired into your brain. So let's take somebody who went through something severe, something very traumatic, and they have PTSD, after post-traumatic stress disorder afterwards. And so they have this traumatic event that happened to them, and naturally so, they have a lot of negative emotions and a lot of negative ways of thinking of things, and they think about this over and over and over and over and over again throughout the course of their entire life, which is natural, if something like that happens to you. But when you do that, you're embedding it into your brain. You're making yourself think that way. You're wiring it in there, and it becomes a main circuit through how you filter everything else. And if you don't rewire it, you're going to continue to think this way. You're going to continue to act from that place. So imagine a jungle, and so if y'all are the jungle, and I need to get from here to the booth over there, let's say there's a path that is paved. It's sidewalk, it's got railings. And then over here, if I want to go this way to get from point A to point B, I have to actually make the path. I have to cut down the trees. I have to clear it. I have to work and work and work to get through. Which way am I going to want to go? I'm going to want to go down the sidewalk. And that's your brain. Your brain literally creates these neural pathways of how you've always thought, of how you've always perceived things. And when it happens again, your brain doesn't want to go this way and clear a new path. It wants to go, this is easy. This is the quickest route. So you have to do the work to cut down the trees and to actually create a new neural pathway for things to filter through. In order to change your thoughts and to change the way you react to situations, you have to create a new path. The more we understand the way our minds work, the more whole we become. And here's what a lot of us are doing. We are just suppressing. We're not dealing with these negative thoughts. We're not dealing with these things that are going on in our mind, and we're just pushing them down. Now remember, they're physical. They're actual, so we're pushing them down, but as we're pushing them down, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so we think, okay, I'm just not going to deal with this today. I'm going to busy myself. God is good. He's faithful. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm not going to go there. That's just too messy. And we're doing this, we're suppressing all of these thoughts because we don't want to declare it over ourselves. And that's okay. I mean, I get that. We don't want to say, we think that if we're dealing with it, if we're saying it, we're declaring the situation over ourselves and over our lives. But here's the thing, in studying the brain, they've realized that when you try to suppress a negative emotion, a negative thought, something that's happened, when you try to suppress it, it actually gives it more power. It gives it more energy, and it makes it stronger. But when you address it, so when you say, okay, I'm feeling hurt by this situation that happened, it weakens it. You can't have a solution if you don't have a problem. And so when we say these things, when we get these things out, when we acknowledge it, it weakens it. And when you weaken it, you can change it. And that's all science research based. When you have all these suppressed thoughts, okay, we're still doing some science here, I know, I'm sorry. But when we have all these suppressed thoughts, it creates what they call neurochemical chaos in your brain. So it's just this whole jumbled mess in your brain that actually causes real damage, physical damage. And what happens to your body is your body recognizes this neurochemical chaos as a virus. It recognizes it as a sickness. And so your immune system gets alerted, and your immune system's trying to fight something, but it doesn't have anything to fight, so it creates an autoimmune response. Are you staying with me? Sorry. It creates an autoimmune response, and it makes you physically sick because your body's trying to figure out what's going on, and your immune system's on overhaul, and you're catching all of these sicknesses, you're doing all of these things, and it's like, it's this neurochemical chaos in your brain. And it causes your brain to be inflamed. And guess what? They've discovered that depression is inflammation in the brain. So all of these things are linked. All of this in our mind, our thoughts, the way we're going about, it's all linked up. Whew, that's a lot, I know. Okay, just a little bit more. When your brain is inflamed, it's actually very difficult for you to think clearly. Have you ever been around somebody that, or maybe it's you, that just continually makes poor choice after poor choice after poor choice, and you're like, what are you doing? When we do this and we get this inflammation in our brain, it creates this brain fog, and it keeps us from actually thinking clearly. And then we get on a hamster wheel because you're not thinking clearly, and you make another poor choice, and it causes more inflammation. And then you make another poor choice, and it causes more inflammation, and you just get going on this hamster wheel. So that, believe it or not, is just the short version of what is in this book and what she talks about. And so she's giving you the power to change your brain anatomy. And I want to read, I'll just read it for you because it's just one verse. Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinks, so is he." Not as a man speaks, not as a man writes, as a man thinks. And then in Philippians 4:8, what does it tell us? Fix your thoughts on what is true, honorable, right, pure, lovely, and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. So to recap all of that, just remember, thoughts are physical. They're physical structures in your brain. So what I want to do today is just give you some practical tips of how we can clear up this neurochemical chaos. This is beautiful because this is God's design. He's given us the tools to how we can do this. And I'm going to assume that we all know getting in the Word and praying. That's number one. So just as I'm reading this list, as we're going through this, just know I don't feel like I have to really pound that into you because I think we all know that, right? So the first thing, the most important thing that we can do is to admit what is going on. Admit what is going on. I had a situation happen about a month ago, and I was so mad about it. And I was not telling anybody I was mad about it because I didn't have any reason. Well, I didn't need to be like the person who made the decision. It was a good decision and it was right for them, but it directly affected me. And I was super frustrated, super upset. And I didn't want to tell anyone that I was mad because I didn't have a right to be mad at them because it was the right decision, but it really changed some things that I had planned. And so I went throughout my week and I did what Melinda was saying, and I would think about it, and I would think about it, and I would think about it, and I would think about it. And then I finally told my husband, I said, I'm just going to tell you this, and I sound awful for telling you this, but I'm just going to tell it to you. And I said, I'm mad at this person for making this decision. And literally, I told him all of that, and afterwards I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm mad anymore. And he was like, well, that was easy. Glad I could help. But the thing is, when we release it, when we acknowledge it, it's weakening that thought, it's weakening those proteins in your brain, and then it can be changed, and you're getting it out. If it's a physical structure in your mind, you got to get it out. You got to get it out of you. So you don't need to go on this whole big thing and turn it into this big complaining session. Just get it out and say what you're feeling. Say what you're going through. It's okay. You're not a bad Christian. You're not a bad person for it. It's okay. We can talk about this. And they've seen that when you start talking about what you're going through, it actually lowers those cortisol levels in your body, which is your stress hormone. So when you're stressed out, that cortisol goes up. And again, there's a whole chain reaction of things that happen when this goes. So whatever you're thinking about, it's going to grow. And it's going to grow in your brain. So just admit it. Just get it out. Don't continue to worry about it. Something that is suppressed is going to have control over you. But something that is acknowledged, you're going to have control over. So we want to get out of this spiral of making these poor choices and making these decisions that are causing all of these other things that are happening, and get into a spiral of making good choices and making good decisions. This brings new meaning to 2 Corinthians 10:5, where it says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. We take every thought captive and we make it obedient to Christ. Whew. That was a lot even for me just to say. I lived this way for a long time. I lived in this world of woe is me. Nothing's happening for me. I have all these dreams. I have all these desires. I have all these things that I want to do. I went to Bible school. And here I am, stuck in my house with my 2 kids, not doing anything that I want to do. And I went to, in Bible school, the class that I graduated with was like, they're all anointed, but I'm telling you, these kids, it was like I watched friend after friend after friend have this step into what they wanted to do and what they felt called to do. And it was like, man, God, what are you doing? Did you forget about me? I'm over here. Krista, right here. Where are you at? And I lived like this for so long, for so many years, and I would go to every conference. I would go up for every altar call, and I would ask for prayer, and I wrote all of my declarations down, and I spoke them over to myself, and I swear I did every single thing that I felt like I was supposed to do to be able to make all of this happen. And I lived this way for such a long time, and it finally, my husband said, what if we're not actually waiting on God? What if God's waiting on us? What if he's waiting on us to actually do something rather than just, that's kind of what we want, we want that instant, that miracle, which I love. I would love for all of these things to just instantly be solved, and I'm not saying that God can't do that, but we kind of want that because we don't have to do any work. We just have Melinda pray for me. Melinda, you make it happen. You do it. I don't have to do it. But here's what I found. God didn't just want to give me a miracle. He didn't just want to give me these things that I wanted, these dreams, these desires. He actually wanted me. He wanted me to know who I am. He wanted me to have an identity. He saw these parts of my life that were like, hey, this over here needs some healing. This needs some work, and you don't see it. And if you go through this door over here, it's just going to keep getting pushed down. And one day it's going to come up and it's going to explode. So let's get this taken care of. Let's get your identity restored. Let's get confidence instilled in you that you can walk out the calling that God has placed on your life. You can do these things that you want to do, these dreams and these desires and all of this stuff that's going on. You can do all of them. But if you've been telling yourself through your whole life that you can't, that somebody else has to do it for you, that somebody else has to open that door for you, that you are not good enough, that you can't speak, that you can't sing, that you can't do all of this stuff, you're creating that pathway, and every thought is going to run through there. And you've got to start saying, okay, no, I'm not going to think this way. I'm not going to allow these thoughts to overtake me. You've got to create that new pathway. Got to be honest with yourself. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work. We're going to go home from this retreat. We're going to be amped up. And in a few weeks, it's going to be like, okay, life is back to normal. These things are happening again. Now what? Now what do I do? I'm not here. It's easier to be here with all these people that are encouraging you and pushing you, and they've got faith to build you up. But then you go home and you're like, well, shoot. Here I am again, and we fall back into these cycles. And a year later, we come back to the retreat dealing with the same things we were dealing with last year that we thought we got broken free from, but then we fell back into those same patterns. We've got to chop down those trees. You've got to make that new path. Our actions will follow our thoughts, and if we don't change how we think, we can't change our behavior. And Caroline Leaf, she talks about how it actually takes 21 days to start rewiring a thought, and it takes 63 days to create a new habit. 63. I don't know that I've ever done anything consistently for 63 days. 63 days. It takes work. But look, God has given you the strength to do it. You're not going to do it on your own. You're not going to do it in your own strength. Lean into him, look to him, and say, okay, you've given me this power. You created this brain. You created how it works. And I'm going to walk it out. And I'm going to be who you've called me to be and who you say that I am. Okay, so we're going to do some very practical things, how to clean up this mental mess in our head and how to fight this depression. I also want to point out that depression is not something that is like clinical depression. You were diagnosed with it. You need to be on medication. That's not what, it is that, but that's not what it only is. I think every single one of us have gone through seasons of depression, seasons of just loneliness, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to do these normal things, you feel sad. It's just, and it can come and go in seasons. It's not like, oh, I've been depressed for years. It can be, okay, this was a season that was really hard, and I fell into this. And so we need to kind of remove that stigma of like, well, I can't say that I deal with depression because I don't have suicidal thoughts, and I'm not like crying all the time. No, I think we all deal with it, and I think we just need to say, okay, we're going to do what we can to not have this, to clean up our brains, and to not get to this point where we're wanting to take our own life. And I'm not saying that you're going to get there, but the people that have gotten there, they're not going to tell you that it just happened like that. Okay, I will be giving you a handout that has all of these on there, so you don't have to scribble real quickly. And for the sake of time, I'm going to try to go through these kind of quickly. But one simple thing, very simple, that you can do that will help clean up that mess is just do something you enjoy every single day. Easy. Listen to a song that you like. Go for a walk. Call your friend. Go hang out with your friend. Play a game at dinner with your family. Do something. Just do something that you like. A big thing. Number 2, connect with others. Y'all, doing research on what isolation does to you mentally and physically is scary. It's scary. And that's what we've been doing because we got this. Why do I got to go connect with somebody? I can see what they're doing on here. I can send them a text message. When you actually look somebody in the eye and you have a face-to-face conversation, it releases chemicals in your brain that make you feel happier. That doesn't happen when you're sending the text message. It doesn't even happen when you're talking on the phone. It's got to be that eye-to-eye contact. Again, this is God's design because he didn't create us to be alone. Oftentimes when we're depressed and we're going through something, we isolate ourselves because we don't want anybody to know what we're going through. Y'all, we got to stop being ashamed of that. We got to stop being ashamed of that. It's okay. It's okay if you're struggling. It's okay if your marriage is a mess. It's okay if your family's a mess, if your life is a mess. It's okay. We all go through it. Connect with people. They've done research that has said that loneliness actually increases the risk for premature mortality among all ages. It increases your risk of death. It's been linked to multiple immune responses, multiple diseases, heart diseases, arthritis, Alzheimer's, tons of stuff. Community involvement has been associated with mental health and cognitive resilience, reduction of chronic pain, lower blood pressure, and improved cardiovascular health. Connect with people. However that is, just talk to somebody. Isolation reduces the blood flow in the front part of your brain by up to 80%, which keeps us from thinking clearly. So if you need new perspective on a situation, even if you're not talking about it, connecting with somebody increases that blood flow, and it can actually make your brain think more clearly. It releases a lot, I won't name them all, but it releases a lot of those hormones and those chemical reactions that just make you feel lighter, and that's why it's so fun here. We're all together. We eat together, we hang out here together. It's what makes it so great. But here's the second half. Here's the part that we have to work on. Sometimes I think that we need to maybe be a better friend. Sometimes I think that we need to maybe, like, how do we do this? If there's not people in your life that you're connecting with, how do I get that connection? And sometimes I think we just need to take the focus off ourselves and say, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. If you see someone, if you're talking with someone, where are you from? If you don't know where they're from, what did you do today? What do you like to do? And then when they tell you that, you ask them something about that. And nobody really likes to hang out with somebody that's griping all the time and that's saying, well, I just can't do this. She's prettier than me, this and this. Just focus on other people for a minute and connect with them. You can volunteer. You can find a place to volunteer. There's lots of I mean, I'm sure Emily would love if you came and said, "Hey, can I help you?" If you're from Mino, we have a thrift store that you can there's so many places that you can offer your time to connect with people. You can turn your phone off when you're connecting with somebody, when you're having a meal with them, and you put your phone away. Have you ever been with somebody who's put their phone away when you're having a meal with them, and you're like, wow, you feel important? And that creates deep connection. Be friendly. When you're at the grocery store, say hello. Talk to the people that are there. Talk to the person checking you out. Let's just look at ourselves and say, what can I do better to make this happen? Second thing is sleep. If you're not getting good sleep, you're not going to be thinking great. Sleep is the only way that your brain detoxes. When we sleep, we regenerate our brain and our body. If you don't sleep well, your brain doesn't regenerate, leading to toxic thoughts. How do we improve our sleep? Who does this before you're going to sleep? But here's the thing. It's not just, we all know about blue light. Blue light from your phones, from your TV, it affects the melatonin that's produced in your body. Your body doesn't settle down. Your body says it's daytime. But if you're consuming things, whatever it is that you're consuming before you're going to sleep is either raising that stress hormone or it's making you relax. So if you're looking through social media and something pops up that stresses you out, then those hormones are raising and they're saying, well, we can't go to sleep now because we're stressed out. So put the phone away. Watch if you're watching TV that is super intense, maybe don't watch that before you go to sleep. If you're struggling sleeping, you need to get that deep restorative sleep. Start winding down early. Some people even say to sleep with your phone either on the other side of the room or in another room because your brain actually knows that it's there and is thinking, we need to see what's going on. We need to see what's going on. Social media and TV, big things, which I've kind of been pointing to that. This is a big cause. Media doesn't want you to be at peace. They're literally, the things that they are putting out there are to cause division. If you believe a certain way, they know based off of what you look at, what you like, what all that stuff, and they're going to have things show up in your feed that are going to trigger those thoughts and make you think a certain way. So just take breaks from it. You know that your brain has an actual addiction to social media because it causes that dopamine hit. It's like a drug, and you actually become addicted to it. And if you can't delete your social media app for even a day, there might be a problem. We might need to get rid of that for a little bit. It's not always bad. There's some really good things that come from it. But just evaluate, how am I feeling after I either watch these shows or I read these things? How am I feeling after I do that? And get rid of it. It's not worth it. It's not worth your peace. It's not worth your time. It's not worth depression, anxiety. You go through and you think, well, I want her life. She's prettier than I am. She can sing better than I am. She can talk better than I can. Look, she's at this vacation spot. I wish I could go there. I can't go there. Her kids are perfect. Her kids never scream. Her daughter actually wears those cute outfits that my daughter doesn't wear. Oh, man. And even if you think you're trying not to compare, you get in that comparison. So take breaks from it. Unwind. Your diet. It's a big thing, and it's a hard thing, I know. But there are actual foods that will trigger depression. Refined sugars, high fructose corn syrup, refined white flours, artificial sweeteners, fried food, refined oils, food dyes. If you've not read about red food dye, you might look into that. There are things that help relieve thoughts of depression and anxiety. Whole grains, vegetables. Again, God created these vegetables, and He created our bodies, and He created what happens when we eat these vegetables. It's His healing. He's given us these tools, and we think that's not God. He is healing you. He's given you these tools that you need. So there's tons of foods that you can eat. Go see your doctor. Sometimes your hormones can be out of balance. You can be deficient in a nutrient that is causing you vitamin D. If you're low on vitamin D, that's a big trigger, big trigger. And we're not getting outside enough. And so it's like we don't have those vitamin D levels that we need. And that can actually cause, that's when you get those up and downs of like, I'm feeling depressed one day and I'm not. I'm feeling it and I'm not. And I'm feeling it and I'm not. Go get tested. Find out. Rest. Slow down. We don't have to go. We don't have to do everything. Your brain actually has limited amount of energy. And if you don't let it rest, it's going to be overstimulated, overwired, and you're not going to think clearly, and you're going to be stressed out. So rest. Figure out what it is that you need to do, what you need to say no to. Slow down. Set up boundaries. And say, okay, I can't do this anymore because my mental health is not worth it. My peace is not worth it. Laugh. Laughter has actually been proven to reduce those stress hormones. It gets all of those good hormones, that serotonin, all of that oxytocin that you need. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I watch funny videos. There's a comedian, and I'm going to give him your name. You need to write his name down. His name is Nate Bargatze, and he is hilarious if you like comedians, and he is clean. Your kids can watch and listen to his jokes. And sometimes that's what I do. I listen to him tell jokes, and I laugh, and I feel better. And I'm like, okay, now we can move on to the next thing. Caroline Leaf's big thing is called reconceptualizing. And so you're actually taking a negative thought and you're flipping it and you're making it into a positive one. So if you're having this negative thought over and over again, or there's a situation, if you can flip it and find something positive. So let's say you're transitioning into a new season of life and you are very nervous about it. It's just something that's new and you're afraid and it's fearful and it's weighing on you. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is new. This is scary. If you say, this is exciting, I'm going to grow from it. I'm going to learn from it. I might make new friends. You're actually doing the work to create that new path in the jungle. So there's a lot more on that. She has an app, and I'm pretty sure this is in the notes. She has an app called the Neurocycle app, and she takes you through a 21-day brain detox, and she's teaching you how to do this. And I wish I could stand up here and teach you all of those things, but I can't, and we don't have the time for it. But if you get that app, she'll take you through it day by day. But again, you've got to do it. You've got to actually do it. You've got to every day, and you've got to do the things that she's telling you to do and do the hard work. Learning and reading actually help your brain become stronger. They create cognitive resilience, which means that, so when you create this cognitive resilience, when stress hits you, you actually can handle it better. So you're making your brain, just like if you're lifting weights, you're making your muscles stronger. You're making your brain stronger simply by learning new things. So your brains are getting stronger just by learning these new things. Or by reading, simply by reading. Your brain, you're creating these strong, healthy protons, neurons in your brain. Movement, exercise, it's a proven method to get out of that depression. Through movement, we're better able to Through movement, we are better able to stay motivated in every area of our lives. Physical activity makes us more resilient. It doesn't just give us a quick dopamine rush and then that's it. Physical activity trains the brain to enjoy all things of life. And the molecules, the hormones that are being released when you exercise are the same ones that they put in antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. So that's just one simple way. Intentional breathing. I was super nervous over here. And just remember threes. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Hold it. 1, 2, 3. Out. 1, 2, 3. A little bit slower than that, and I did it over there. My heart was racing. I did it over there and it actually did make I had to practice all of these things the last month. Go outside. They did a study in Denmark comparing those that were exposed to nature versus those that were not from birth to 10 years. Those that were not exposed to nature had a 55% increased risk of developing a mental illness. But if you think about it, nature and people are the only things that we've got that God has created, right? And so when we're doing this, we're connecting with him. We were created in his image. So sometimes if you want to connect with God, you connect with somebody else. Or you get out in nature and you look at what he has created and you're connecting with him. Get outside every single day. This is a big one that I don't think we like to talk about so much, but therapy. Talking to somebody about what you're going through. They can give you tools to help you process it, to create better patterns in your life. They see a new perspective of something. But again, even just getting that stuff out will help you. And I will tell you this, I have yet to hear somebody who has taken the time to find the right therapist, because sometimes you got to work towards that, and taking the time to actually go and do what they tell you to do that has said, therapy's stupid. Why would I go talk to somebody about my problems? The people that say that have, in my experience, have been the ones that have not gone. But the ones that have done the work have said, this changed my life. So just a little tip right there. Okay, if you're anxious, if you're having a moment of anxiety, a panic attack or something, these are just some quick things that you can do to try to get yourself to calm down. If you take a walk, a brisk walk, 20 minutes or so, that will actually, it burns enough adrenaline in your brain that'll actually start to help calm you down. You do those breathing exercises. You try to figure out what it is that's causing that anxiety. You say, okay, I'm feeling anxious. Why? Why is this making me feeling? Why? Just keep asking asking those why issues and try to get to that root of that problem. Again, these are just practical things. I'm sorry, that was a lot to try to pack in. But I really want to see people walking in this power that God has given them with their brain and with their mental health. And like I said, I think we need to start taking it more seriously, and we need to start just being obedient. It might take you just asking God, hey, what is my next step? What is the next thing that I need to do to go towards this healing? And it might be something super simple. For me, it was weird. He told me to get up at 5 a.m. every single day. And I didn't want to because I have little kids and I'm tired a lot. And so I just told even when I told my husband, he was like, are you sure you don't want to do 6 a.m.? Like, you like your sleep. But when I took that step, that one step of obedience, like Melinda was talking about, where we being disobedient in, it led to because he met me there, and it led to so many other things that led to more change. And you just create this domino effect, and you keep hacking away at that pathway, and you say, okay, I'm going to walk in this freedom that he's given me. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take, what time is it? We're going to take like 5 minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes, and we're going to pass out these handouts to you, and you are just going to figure out, hey, what do I need to do? What is God asking me to do so that I can live this full, whole life, so that I can walk in this freedom that he's given me? And just figure out what that next step is, so that when you go home, you're going to receive something here. When you go home, you can continue to build on it, and it's not like, oh, shoot, I'm stuck. Now I'm back to where I was. So figure out, you have those little journals if you want to write them in your journals, and then we're going to meet in our groups after that and kind of discuss it. But just ask, really seek the Lord and say, okay, and it could be something so simple. Don't try to do all of these at once. Don't say, okay, I'm going to conquer this and I'm going to do it all. It's not going to work. You're going to get overwhelmed. One step at a time. That's all you need. Just one little baby step at a time. And just keep at it. Believe in yourself. Get people around you that can help you, that can keep you accountable, that can encourage you. Write it down. And remember. It takes 21 days to start rewiring and reconceptualizing that negative pattern, and 63 days to establish that new pattern. Nate Bargatze, Nate Bargatze. He has YouTube, he has Instagram, he has a podcast. I don't know. Go to just YouTube him. He has a couple Netflix specials. And the book, and this is the book. And I have that on the handout on the back. There's a bunch of podcasts. Any of her books are phenomenal. But again, we have to make this choice. We have to decide that we're going to do this, that we can do this. Something someone told me once that kind of kicked me in the butt was, no one's coming to rescue you. And I don't say that to say that God's not coming. He's already here. He's already rescued you. He already paid that price. But I kept waiting for somebody else to come and do that for me. And I needed to do it myself. So take that time, write down your thoughts, and then we will, I think Emily's going to come up when the time is over, and she'll dismiss y'all, and then we'll move on from there.